It's a great day to talk hockey on HabsCast.
It is indeed. I am your host, Grant McCagg. Welcome to HabsCast live lunch. We're hopefully going to have on a special guest, Bob Stauffer, who is in his 17th season as the color analyst for the Oilers broadcast team and host of Oilers Now. Unfortunately, Bob is having some technical issues getting his getting up on screen here. It might have to just be audio. If that doesn't get rectified in a couple minutes, we'll bring him on and we'll just have his audio. But obviously, a lot of Canadiens fans up in arms over how things transpired last night. Canadiens, obviously got the short end of the stick when it came to penalty calls, and the Oilers capitalized on it. 3 late goals, including one in the last 90 seconds that broke the Canadiens back. Heartbreaking loss for a Canadiens team who clearly outplayed the Oilers during the game. I thought they had the better of the play for the first time in memory. They appeared to be faster and have more skill than the Edmonton Oilers, and that was certainly not the case a few years ago. So, encouraging signs. The first, the second line looked good again. Couple of goals. Kirby Dach's line, not so much. We got to get. Kirby's got to get rolling there. That line struggled. They were -2 on the day and didn't play especially well. What we're going to do here, it looks like Bob just can't get this technical issue figured out. We will add him to the stage, and we've got his audio. Bob, are you there?
I am, Grant. How are you doing? Sorry about this.
No worries. These things happen, especially when you're going live. And hey, the main thing is you're here. I really appreciate it. I guess you're flying out to Seattle in a few hours?
Yeah, we fly out to Seattle today. So, it was an interesting game last night. Montreal's got a real good team. Edmonton is nowhere near the level they need to be at. There's no false illusions with anybody that's watching this team on a day-to-day basis, and I'm sure in the context within that room. But at the end of the day, they found a way. And, I know that there's people in Montreal that are, up in arms over the call on Anderson. And I'll be frank with you, I didn't know what had happened. We were kind of like, wait a sec, why are McDavid and Draisaitl on the ice after the 5-4 goal? And then we realized, wait, Anderson's in the box. And we're trying to figure out, well, did he say something? Like, what happened? And these things, Grant, as you know, because you've watched the game for a long time, these things typically have a way of evening out for teams.
Absolutely.
Over the course of the year. But it doesn't make it any less frustrating when you're in the moment. So I have empathy for, the Canadiens players were hot after the game. They played well. They probably deserved a better fate in last night's game. And the Oilers showed a little bit of resiliency, but they got a lot to work on.
Well, thanks for being diplomatic, Bob. I'm gonna assume that it's not the first time that I'm gonna assume that Oilers fans once or twice in the past, after the Oilers have blown the game, were a little bit irate at the officiating and the goaltending. Would that be fair to say?
Well, usually when you lose, the first thing that gets questioned is goaltending. I will say this. Like when the Oilers rebuild went too long, okay, it did. They called it the decade of darkness. It was not the plan. They committed to rebuilding. Daryl Cates came on my show, Oilers Now, back in, that would have been in second week of February in 2010, and said, let's face it, we're going to be going in a rebuild here. The reality is when the team wasn't very good as a broadcaster, you realize what you have, and you're trying to play to the standard of what they might be capable of. Well, the Oilers are a completely different place now. Like the last 4 years, Edmonton's won the second most playoff. They've won 9 playoff series in the last 4 years. Calgary's won 6 playoff series in the last 35 years. Vancouver and Ottawa have never won 9 playoff series over a 4-year span. Montreal, who were my favorite team as a kid, and you and me are roughly of the same vintage.
Okay.
They're in a little bit different situation because, and you feel that when you go into Montreal, like, I took political science in university, and I'm certainly aware of what happens. We've had Mark Carney on our show a couple times. He's a massive Oilers fan. We've had Pierre Poilievre on the show, and I at times talk about the relationship between Alberta and Quebec. But what I will tell you is that my favorite place to go to in the league is Montreal. Okay, we went there last year for the Four Nations face-off, and the first 9 seconds of that game was so electrifying. But that was also the night I knew that the Liberals were going to win the election, because I'd never seen fans in Montreal so pro-Canadian as they were at that night, and I knew how angry they were in Quebec with Trump, and I'm thinking about, and I may have communicated that to a prominent politician who is a devout Oilers fan, right? But the point I'm making is we love coming to Quebec, but the thing about Montreal is they have knowledge when it comes to hockey. Like it's a religion, right? And so what happens is, the genesis of the Oilers 80s dynasty came from what Glenn Sather learned as a member of the Montreal Canadiens, right? Watching Sam Pollock and being coached by Scotty Bowman, right? Yeah. And in Calgary, Al McNeil coming from the Montreal Canadiens and going to the Flames.
Bill Torrey.
Even Winnipeg, when John Ferguson brought in Serge Savard. Like,
good point.
So there's always been this, for me, I've always had an affinity for the Canadiens and watch them. And I'm pretty good friends with Jerry Johansson from the Sports Corporation grant out of Edmonton. And he has a lot of your guys. Okay, so he's got Brendan Gallagher. He had Carey Price. He negotiated a Slafkovsky deal with Kent Hughes. He's got Kirby Dach. You were talking about Kirby Dach, and Kirby he's had some challenges. Just he cannot stay healthy, and it's been So we end up talking about watching Montreal a lot. And so, just as Edmonton gets a lot of noise around the league because they got McDavid and Draisaitl, people are well aware in hockey circles, because they have a respect for the tradition, the history of the Canadiens organization, of where Montreal is at right now. And they're in a good spot. They're going to be a real good team. And they're not going to have a decade of darkness. Like the Oilers had it was never the plan to have struggled the way they did. But in the end, they got Draisaitl in 14 and Connor in 15. And it built basically the core of a pretty special team, albeit one that's come up 1 and 2 games short in the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years, has lost to a hell of a team. So that's a long-winded response, but certainly aware of, the context of, yes, Edmonton was lucky. Yes, Montreal has a good team, and fans in Montreal should be really excited about where they're going.
Okay. Well, if you'd had chance here, you put this tweet out last night. Are you not entertained? The Edmonton Oilers have a lot to clean up, but they were resilient tonight. Made the most of Anderson unsportsmanlike penalty, back-to-back power play goals. Now, I don't know if you were intentionally poking the bear or not, but it certainly incited a few Habs fans. Hey, you're right. They were resilient. They still had to score on the power play, right? You can get power. There's two things: you can get power play opportunities, and not score, or you can score. And in that sense, there was resilience on their part to come back. But certainly, that Anderson penalty, I don't think he even said a word. He shot the puck and tapped the stick and kind of glared at the official, and he got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty at that point. If that's exactly what happened, do you think that maybe the ref went a little overboard with it, making that call at that point?
It was an emotional game.
Yeah.
Like Bouchard, Montreal scored the first goal, right? The New Hook goal, his first of the two in the game. And Bouchard and he gets the penalty, and I'm like, and of course, I'm watching the front of the net. I didn't see Bouchard. I mean, Bouchard earned his penalty. That was a two-handed slash in the back of the leg after he turned the puck over. And I'm sure we're going to talk about Evan at some point, because right now he'd be the first to tell you he's not on the level of a guy like Mike Matheson. Like, I'm not saying they're similar players. Matheson's obviously a pending UFA, but the Canadiens have, even with Gooley out, they got three guys that can transition the puck and get it up the ice. And the Oilers' defense, in theory, according to The Athletic, from an analytics perspective, their top four was supposed to be the best top four in the league. It hasn't been that at all so far this year. They got a lot of work to do, Grant.
Yeah.
So Bouchard earned his call. Like, that was a penalty. Like, Newhook scores, Bouchard slashes the guy in the back of the legs in the corner after the goal. They're going to call that. Again, yeah. I didn't see until after that. Was it a push of a puck out of the net or something? I don't think he did say anything. I completely understand the frustration and exasperation in Montreal on that call, and it did flip the switch in the game. Yeah. Now, that said, the Canadiens gave up 6 goals.
Yeah,
okay?
well.
And they gave up 6 goals to a team that hadn't scored more than 3 goals in regulation, like, all year. Like, Edmonton was they've been struggling to score. They're still not out of the woods yet here. They got for whatever reason, I have my own theories, but the Oilers don't exactly come out of the gate like a house on fire the first, 10 to 12 games of the year.
Yeah.
Part of it just might be how late they've played to the last 3 or 4 years. Like, they played a lot of hockey, and there's a different degree of intensity. And I'm now saying that the 84 Oilers, different time. The Oilers won the Cup in 84, and the Oilers in 84-85 started the year 12-0-3. So, right. So, but that team was voted the best team in NHL history.
Wow.
Which seemed a little unfair to me, given the fact that Scotty Bowman had a 60-win team win a Stanley Cup with the Montreal Canadiens.
Recency bias.
Yeah.
I for some reason I went and looked up Chris Schlenker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And of course from Medicine Hat, right? I mean, every time the Canadiens get the majority of the calls, and one of the refs from Quebec, the fans for that team.
I can't believe you're doing this, Grant. That's kind of like me bringing up, for 2 years in a row, Evander Kane got taken out of the Stanley Cup final, and whose son's the assistant general manager of the Florida Panthers, Gregory Campbell, had nothing to do with the fact that Evander had a stick up a butt those 2 years in the playoffs. So that's it. As long as we can laugh about it, because we know it's like.
I know. I'm over it, Bob. I found it, interesting that it says employer Edmonton Oilers. Now, you're employed by the Edmonton Oilers. Is Chris Schenkler employed by the Edmonton Oilers?
Not that I do not believe that to be the case. No. So,
okay.
If you want, I can put a call into HR here. So I don't think so. But again, you've been around the game long enough to know these things tend to balance out over the course of the season.
Oh, listen, earlier in the season, Montreal got 11 power plays within 30 minutes against Nashville.
Really?
Yeah. I'd never seen it before. So if you wanted to, look at the balance sheet so far this year, there's probably another game before they're evened up again, like what happened last night. So, they do tend to balance out, and I don't think referees purposely. In fact, I grew up in a town, and there was a famous referee. He played senior hockey and the whole works, and he'd ref games, and in fact, he'd go the other way. He'd make sure so he didn't get viewed as a homer. He would actually make calls the other way, and the fans hated when the local fans hated when he was reffing because.
So here's what I would say: as the Oilers have gotten better, My theory on this is it's a loser's lament to whine about officiating. Understand? Like that's my but
Right.
it doesn't mean like I can tell you when McDavid got suspended for that sequence with Connor Garland in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Just call a penalty. Like just call a penalty. And then you turn around and Carson Soucy, who's from Irma, Alberta, I do an event out there every year with Jerry Johansson. I like Carson. I played against Carson's dad, Mike. He trains all the kids. There's a disproportionate amount of kids coming out of the Wainwright Irma part. By the way, that's Poilievre's riding now. That's when I interviewed Poilievre. Went out there for that event, and so they conveniently took him from Ottawa Carleton out to the largest PC percentage vote in the entire country. They wanted a Slav dog, but no, Carson Soucy cross-checked McDavid in the face during the Oilers Vancouver playoff series. He got one game, right?
Yeah.
And conversely, you have a situation where McDavid got frustrated with Connor Garland and cross-checked him and got a 3-game suspension. And I'm like, you got to protect your star players. Like he's sitting there tackling McDavid on the ice in the final 35 seconds, and there was no hand up from the officials. Of course, I said something, but I don't think the league. I don't believe for a second that the league goes out of their way to protect their stars, and I find that ironic because, TNT and ESPN have the broadcast rights grant, and the Oilers are on more than any other Canadian team, and that's because of Connor and Leon. And it's funny when I see the graphics down in the States for the games on ESPN or TNT, and it's Edmonton, it's one of McDavid or Draisaitl in every graphic, right? So they're selling the stars. That's part of why the NHL, and yet I don't think they go out of their way to protect the stars. So that's my little thing.
Yeah. Well,
again, last night I totally understand the frustration.
Yeah.
Of Canadiens fans, and frankly, they did not hold back with the players didn't hold back with how they felt. The coach didn't, and I get it. I mean, it was a frustrating game for them.
That Matheson penalty on McDavid, and because it was on McDavid, like every time an Oiler fell down, there was a penalty call. And I know when Slav just barely nudged the guy, and he's off balance, and he hits his face into that's on him more than on Slavkovsky.
Well, for guys from yours and my generation, yes. So to give you a blast for past, I grew up and I'm a 66 born. The two best players in Northern Alberta at that time of our age group were Todd Ewan and Emmanuel Viveros. Okay, so Emmanuel was the CHL player of the year. He was today he would have played 15 years in the NHL as
he was so skilled.
He was a bit like Lane Hudson. Okay, that's who he was a bit like.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem was in the mid '80s, nobody had any time and patience for 5'10", 175-pound defenseman. And then Todd Ewan, until he went to junior, was a dominant center. And the problem I had is when I was 13 and 14, I was the only guy on our team as he was a little taller, but I was the same size. They used to just destroy us. Like they'd beat us like 8-2, and I'd score every game. We'd lose like 8-2 or 9-3. And they used. So I grew up like I remember when Todd knocked out Bob Probert, and the Canadiens fans when they saw Todd Ewan, he had bulked up quite a bit. But like as a kid, he was a highly talented player with a little bit of a mean streak, right? And so it wasn't until junior where he became a fighter, and because he had quick twitch and he's the only guy ever to knock Bob Probert right in his butt in a fight, like just drop him. And then Proby came back and beat him, and fought him. Probert came back in the same game. Think about that. Like Probert was it was a concussion, right? It was early in it was in '87, so Todd was with St. Louis at the time, and he had to fight Probert every game from that point on. Because Probert was so bad.
Yeah, you had to get him back.
And by the time he got into Montreal, he'd probably gone from 215 to 250 pounds. Because I remember seeing him going, holy, like now I'm the one that's, God, unfortunately Todd's no longer with us, but I just, I just remember. But the point I'm making is you and me are from a time where you didn't, you didn't put yourself in a position where you got belts
Right.
to the boards. Like when, like Viveros could really skate, and if he angled you off down the wall, you knew you were going to get pitchforked into the boards. Like you had to. I always used to try to turn back into him and run him over, right? And it never worked because he was a better skater than me. But
Right.
I guess that's my point. You're talking about that hit, and the D-man put himself in an awkward position, and there's 10 years ago, that's not a penalty. Today it is.
No, it was a little frustrating, but it balances out. I know Hab fans don't want to hear that, and they're still heated about it. I'm seeing some of the remarks here in the live chat, and we got to get over it. There were positives from the game. Is that the fastest and most skilled Habs team you've seen in quite some time?
Oh, they got a good team. Like in New Jersey is another quick, fast team, and the Oilers are not playing fast yet. Edmonton so the Oilers changed their identity quite a bit from the two Stanley Cup teams, right? Like
Right.
They lost. They traded McLeod for Savoy. They elected not to re-sign Fogle, and then the double offer sheet, and they lost Holloway, and so Edmonton was older and slower last year, and they've tried to add a little bit of speed this year, but they're not playing fast. The Canadiens are playing fast, and the Dobson trade. Montreal accumulated. I think the Canadiens management's done a really good job here. Like I do. Like the time was right to go get a player like Dobson. They moved a couple first round picks and a guy that's a useful third line player, right?
Yeah.
That trade totally made sense to me. Obviously, they got Hudson done. I don't know if your fans know this. Lane's father is from Edmonton.
Well, right? Yeah, Winnipeg or Manitoba and then Edmonton, yeah.
Then Edmonton, right? So
yes, he is.
You'll laugh at this. He was in Edmonton last year. I think the Canadiens came to town March 6th. And I'd seen our development guy, Kelly Larson, who ran teams in the USHL, was a GM, real sharp guy. And he's with the guy. And I hadn't seen Kelly since the fall. And we were talking a bit about potentially moving. We were in a situation where we'd had to move a player out of Boston University. And I go, well, what did I tell you about guys out of BU and the Oilers or guys out of BC? Like the Bruins have a massive advantage on those players.
Right.
The Canadiens have had some guys out of Northeastern over the years, right?
They have.
Montreal has. And this guy looks at me that's with Kelly, goes, and I go, well, those guys from BU, they don't want to come out west. And the guy looks at me and goes, well, that's not, you don't know that 100% sure. And I go, and I kind of look at him, he goes, well, I have two sons on the team. So he was talking about Cole Hudson and Quinn Hudson. And at that point, I knew that was Lane Hudson's dad, right? Like I was like, oh, you must be Rob Hudson. So,
right.
And the Oilers ended up signing Quinn Hudson, as you know.
Well,
so the prospect. So
I know Rob quite well. Actually, he's been on the show, and I know, like, we've become friends, and he told me that Quinn might be signing with Edmonton, and hey, with his Edmonton ties, right? So
well, So, but I love Lane Hudson. He can really move the puck, and he's today's defenseman. So you've got. I'm a big Gooley guy. Gooley went 2 picks after the Oilers took Holloway. Gooley was the number 1 pick in the WHL Bantam draft. I was pushing our guys internally I'll be honest, for Gooley. The Oilers had drafted Broberg in 2019 8th and Bouchard 10th in 2018. And I'm like, you can never have enough. I go, this will give you 3 top 4 defensemen in 3 years in a row. Yeah. And they elected to go with Dylan Holloway, who's a great kid. But if you look at Montreal, like their top 4 is set. Like Edmonton has an older top 4. Right. Ekholm's 35, turning 36. Bouchard just turned 26 a couple days ago. And then Nurse is 30. And Wallman's 29. That's their top 4. Okay. Right. So unfortunately, Bouchard's having a real tough start to the year. You look at Montreal and the skating ability of what Dobson can do and what Dooley can do when he's healthy, and then you factor in Hudson.
Matheson and Hudson.
He's the Eastern Conference version of Quinn Hughes, like just a
Right.
dynamic, undersized, smart player, and those guys can play today. And then you tell me, Grant, are they going to re-sign Matheson because he's a pretty good player and he can really skate too?
Well, you know what? I get the impression Matheson's a bit of a whipping boy with the Montreal
Fans?
I sense that he's kind of like the Oilers version of Darnell Nurse. Would that be somewhat accurate? Where the fans kind of, are a little hard. These guys play 22 minutes a game against other teams' top, and now and then they make mistakes. When you're playing against other teams' top lines, you are going to make mistakes on occasion. Well, do you find that if there is a whipping boy in the Oilers organization, maybe it's Bouchard too now, but
I think Bouchard and Nurse, there's a segment of the fan base that are on Bouchard. Some of those, they like justifiably so to start the season. Like he'd be the first to tell you he's got to play better, manage the puck better. I mean, he was involved in the giveaway of the first goal against last night. He's had some real rough moments, but for the most part, he's been unbelievable in the playoffs.
Yes.
Like he has 40 more points than any other defenseman over the last 3 years in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's
and he was that way in junior too, with London.
He was a guy that got better as the year goes on. In Nurse's case, I feel for him. He's now what happened last night, it was a subtle little thing, but Nurse and Wallman's come back and given the team a little bit of juice. So they ended up playing more with McDavid's line as the game wore on last night. Usually that's been Ekholm and Bouchard. So Knobloch flipped that up. So that was because if you look at Ekholm and Bouchard's advanced analytics, they've been at like 62% expected goals for as a pairing since they've been paired together. But Eki's returning from an injury. Like he was totally compromised in the playoffs last year. I'm stunned he came back in game 5 of the Dallas series. Was absolutely in shock when that happened. And then, and then even Wallman was dealing with it. And then we found out afterwards that Bouchard had significant. See, here's the thing. We're sitting here talking about a game last night. Montreal's got a real good, exciting team. They got a little bit of the taste of the playoffs last year. I think they look like a team that can win a couple rounds this year, and they will add, right? They got 6 picks right now, I think, off the top of my head in the first 4 rounds of this year's draft. I think they got 2 seconds and 2 fourths on top of the first and third. So the Canadiens have got the draft cap. I mean, they still got Haig and Reinbacher, who, as first round picks. Even is it Mazar? I think he's another one that they've got in their organization. Like they're going to be able to make a move here and make a swing and add a piece at some point. And that's a given. So they're gonna be a good bet. Edmonton's going to be making moves too. Like the Oilers, they got a 27 number 1 available. That's getting traded too. Like I'm going to tell you that right now. Like this is not what. The Oilers without Hyman. The other thing is Hyman drives the second line.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing McDavid and Draisaitl together, Hyman's the best puck recovery guy in the forecheck in the league. Okay, he's also their net front in the power play, and he's very good on retrievals. And they missed him when he got hurt. When he got hurt in game 2 or game 4 against Dallas last year, Grant, I wasn't sure the Oilers were going to get out of that series. I'm like, that's a pretty, it's a trivia question for your viewers. Which NHL player has scored the most goals in a single playoffs? Zach Hyman had 16. That's the most of any active player in the league, right?
Oh, active. Okay.
Active. Obviously not all time.
Yari Curry, but
19 and Yari Curry. But no,
Reggie Lee.
He is a huge part of the Oilers' power play.
Yeah.
And if you're playing McDavid and Leon together, Hyman can play with Nugent Hopkins, and that line can keep his head above water 5v5.
Well, I mean, with Barkov going down with injury, like let's face it, when they re-signed all their top guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like okay, here we go. It's Panthers have to be favored a 3rd straight year, but Barkov being out is just such a huge hole, and I think it opens. this is the opportunity for the Oilers, right? Do you think they have to make a move or two to win the West? They're going to need
I don't think they have, like, I don't think you have to win. Like, when you mean winning the West, you mean winning the conference playoffs?
Yeah.
I know they're going to be adding. So
Yeah.
it's not, do they have to?
Well,
I live in the same building.
I
live in my wife and kids moved out to the coast, so I live in the same building as one of the biggest decision makers on the team. We talk. I got a pretty good idea where we're going here, right? So there's going to be an addition made at some point to this team that'll be an upgrade, probably in the top 6. I think they're going to want the defense around. But I'm going to tell you this, like right now, Grant, they're just not playing that well.
No, they were lucky to beat Ottawa. They were lucky to beat Montreal.
They were lucky to beat the Rangers.
Well before that.
Rangers. Yeah.
And this is the prime years of McDavid and Draisaitl. You got to go for it. The window.
And you're going for it. And whereas the Canadiens,
they're not in as big a rush.
They should be stoked. They should be pumped because you're on the precipice of having a run here for probably 4 or 5 years where you're going to be a top 8 team in the league. And if you're a top 8 team in the league, you got a chance to win every year.
Right. It's funny, McDavid, I got thinking, like I remembered back to that playoff series during the COVID where the Habs swept the Oilers. And, McDavid for his career has not played or produced that well against the Canadiens. I looked up the stats. In 33 career games, he has 10 goals and is minus 10, which projected over 82 games is 25 goals and minus 25.
Yeah, the Oilers lost. The Oilers lost to Winnipeg in the COVID year. You guys, the Canadiens swept the Jets, as you know.
Oh no, that's right. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But so, in that all Canadian year that year, the Oilers didn't light it up against Montreal. Montreal was, you had a lot of the country cheering for the Canadiens because they didn't want to see the Leafs win, right? It's just, we have the. But Montreal's a very different team now. Look at didn't they call it the Trident? Like the big 3 on the back end, right? At that time where Shea Weber.
Yeah. No.
They and Sherratt, right? And so, Montreal, the Canadiens they got an excellent transition defense. Even Montembeault has struggled. Johansson's got Dobish as well. We talked about him yesterday over lunch. So, it's he's off to a good start. Dobish, Montembeault wasn't great. Like he played a factor, but also think about the 4-3 goal, the second Caulfield goal. That's just a bad goal. Like that, comes down the side and shoots one right through Calvin Pickard. So I think your viewers should be excited. I think Montreal is gonna. You asked me to come on and talk a bit about the Habs, and I know what I'm seeing. That's a quick, fast team. I think the coach knows how to breed offensive confidence in his players. And that's because, right? And usually what that means is you give players an opportunity to dig themselves out if they make a couple mistakes and go get it back for you. To me, that's usually, I'm into positive reinforcement that way from a coaching perspective. And Montreal looks like they're playing free, right? And the Oilers look like they're a little tight right now. And then Edmonton's trying to, they finally got going. Their ears perked up when they got the second power play. That's what happened. They got the goal, Draisaitl's goal. All of a sudden, they get gifted another power play, and then they scored right away. And then that's the best Edmonton's looked in the final 6 or 7 minutes of that game. It's the best they've looked since the second game of the year against Vancouver.
There you go.
And they got a healthy rivalry with Vancouver, right? So they played pretty well that. Thatcher Demko. He was all world that night, or it would have been 7 or 8-1 for the Oilers. But, that's the best the Oilers have looked in 6 games was in the final 8 minutes of the game last night.
It's funny, like what you brought up Hyman, and, I think it's such a key. Obviously, the Oilers have a great first line, and but you don't win a cup without having a solid, a productive second line that can back them up, right? And the Canadiens, I was looking at it. And I'll ask you what you think of this trio so far. But I mean, they're all under the age of 25. This is what they're projecting to score as far as points this year.
Yeah.
Newhook 63, Kapanen 55, Demidov 55. Now I don't know if they'll reach those numbers. Maybe Kapanen won't or whatever. Or Newhook, I think Newhook's breaking out, and in playing with those two guys, I think helps. But the last time the Canadiens had a second line where the lowest point total was 55 points, 1982-83. That's how far back you got to go. So, people, it's funny, like Habs fans say, well, they got to pick up, Newhook can't be on the second line. They got to pick up the second line center to this and that. I think it's there internally. What did you think of that trio last night?
Well, they look good, but that's again because the Oilers had surprise. Of the three guys, Newhook, Kapanen, and Demidov, to me, the guy that's got the best chance to reach that point total is Demidov. I mean, he's
for sure.
Look, he's fifth overall draft pick.
Right.
And when I thought he was second line, I thought the Canadian second line, I thought it was Doc, Line, and Demidov was supposed to be the second line. So,
right.
And I have a lot of time for Kirby, and I'll tell you why. In the 1920 bubble year, Chicago played Edmonton. The Hawks finished about 8 points behind the Oilers in the regular season, and Kirby Dach played second line center, head to head. Taves on the first line, Dach on the second. As a 19-year-old, he went head to head against McDavid and Draisaitl, and he was really good in that series. He broke his wrist the next year in the World Juniors pre-tournament games. Stan Bowman had him in Chicago, third overall pick. I thought they made the right pick. You always bet, like you and I compare. It was funny because Hughes went number one that year, and I remember back to 2011, and Nugent Hopkins went number one, and Scheifele went seventh. And I remember thinking to myself, would there come a point where they'd intersect? And Scheifele, because of his size and his reach, eventually become a more dominant player than Nugent Hopkins. Nugent Hopkins is a great support player. Like, he's going to play 1,200 games as an Oiler. Like, he's been a really good player. He has had a 100-point season in the NHL in a year in which the Oilers are the best power play in NHL history. And I thought of Doc that year in Jack Hughes. And I thought, I wonder where Doc's going to be at 25, 26. Well, the problem is he's had so many injuries. Between the wrist injury of the Hawks, the torn ACLs, Kirby and right now you've probably got some Montreal fans rolling their eyes. But to me, there's a guy that if he can get his confidence back and he can get going, he could be a huge difference as a middle six forward. The only question now, you tell me, Grant, do you think he's a center or do you think he's a right wing?
Well, that's that's kind of the question mark there, right? I'm Hab fans well aware I'm a huge Oliver Kapanen fan, and I think he's a smarter player than Kirby Dach. Kirby Dach, has the physical tools to be a second line center if he could ever stay healthy and figure some things out. But Oliver Kapanen, I am really high on. He's having a great rookie season so far. But Kirby, it's funny, you mentioned that he had that great playoff series, went back. Andre Tourigny, who's been on my, I've interviewed Andre before. He was the coach of that World Junior team. Asked Kirby, do you mind playing on the wing? And he was so impressed with Kirby. He's saying, well, anything, I'll do anything, coach, wherever you want me to play. He didn't have an issue. He was, a top 3 pick, and normally, he'd be a first line center, right? Andre asked him to play on the wing. He was thoroughly impressed with his attitude and named him captain, and was, expecting him to lead the team. And then he got injured, of course, and then his first year or second year with Montreal, he was having a really good year. He was playing very well defensively, like down low and stuff. You were mentioning how he has the capability of being a shutdown center, but then he blew out his knee, right? hurt himself again. And as you were well aware, when you have a couple of serious knee injuries, it can take you a couple of years before
Yes.
you're back to 100%. So the
Do you know
Canadiens are going to have to be patient with him.
Do you know who his cousin is?
No.
His cousin may push Gavin McKenna out of number 1. His
Verhoff?
cousin, that's his cousin.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, I've watched, again, you and me are of the same vintage. I've probably watched the WHL for the last 45 years, right? Like, and Keith Verhoff, he's a 6'4" right shot D. Last year, he was the first defenseman, first 16-year-old D in 40 years to score 20 goals as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And he did not play PP1 in Victoria for James Patrick. He wasn't even on their first power play unit.
Yeah.
And him and Cole Reshney elected to go to North Dakota. Ironically enough, that's Patrick's alma mater. They left the Victoria Royals. This guy is like, Guy Godowski was my center in midgets, and he's the head coach at Penn State. So he's got McKenna. And Verhoff and Reshney both went to North Dakota. North Dakota is a pretty professional environment for
they are,
right?
Yeah.
Right? Like Ottawa's figured it out. They got about 5 guys from North Dakota on their team. Obviously Sanderson, Clevin,
Pinto,
those guys are all there, right? And so Bernard Docker before they moved him. So I know it sounds crazy. Everybody's focused on McKenna. Got quietly out west. A lot of the WHL executives I talked to by 3/4 of the way through last year were like, I wonder whether or not Verhoff might have. Yeah. He's sort of like a cross between Pietrangelo and Pronger, right? Like he's right, like because he doesn't have to be like Jay Bouwmeester came out of the West and could skate like the wind, right? There was like he was special. Verhoff does it differently, but you talked about the ability to process the game and make plays and think, because you can't coach stupid, but you can coach smart. No. Well, he's smart. He gets the puck up the ice. He can activate, jump in. He's got it. I'm telling you right now, it sounds like everybody's been so focused on McKenna. I wonder whether or not Verhoff. Some teams might look at it and say, "I'll take the 6'4" right shot defenseman." And he's playing in the league. Grant, he's playing in the league next year. He's that good.
Oh well, you've got a 6'4" defenseman who's going to play 25 minutes a game, shut down, be on the PK, be on the power play. Those are so valuable pieces. Versus, he's friggin' dynamic and he's going to score a pile of points, but he's a 5'11" winger. At the end of the day,
McKenna,
who don't get me wrong, is a special player and dynamic, and he's going to pile up a lot of points. But value-wise, when you look at the chart, if a team that's picking and they've got a need on defense, and they rate Verhoff anywhere close to McKenna as far as skill goes, as far as talent goes, they'll take the defenseman over the winger. And it's far-fetched for people, but hey, I've been down this road before. Everyone couldn't wrap their heads around Shane Wright not going first overall. I had to beat it into their heads for 3-4 months, because I was watching Shane Wright and said, wait a sec, this guy, he's not all that in a bag of chips. And Nolan Patrick, his year, it took months to convince people, look, this guy, there are some warts there.
Derailed by the head. Obviously Nolan had some issues. I liked Nolan Patrick in that draft year. That was the Easter draft year. I liked him, and I had time for Shane Wright as well, because I like centers. Okay, but I'll throw one more at you, because I know you follow it. So last year Victoria played Spokane. Spokane had the highest scoring line in the WHL in the playoffs. Andrew Christel is a second-round pick of the Capitals.
Yeah,
Berkeley Catton, who along with Shane Wright, I'm going to see tomorrow night in Seattle, because he's up right now with the Kraken. He's the 8th overall pick a couple of years ago. And a guy named Shea Van Ohm, who scored 49 goals last year. He's playing at Penn State, hardly playing at Penn State this year as a 21-year-old. But that line was the best line in the WHL in the playoffs. They played Victoria, and in game 6, the game went into triple overtime. And Verhoff played 53 of 98 minutes as a 16-year-old D head-to-head. And he was the most noticeable guy on the ice when he was out there. Like, I watched the games, I'm like, this guy is – and Calgary got a good pick too. Reshny's going to be a good player as well. Like,
he's a smart player, and he was very good in the playoffs too.
Did you like Konechny?
Sorry, who?
Travis Konechny. Did you like him when he came through?
Oh, well, I'm based out of Ottawa, and he played for the 67s, and I had him ranked as a top 10 pick. I thought I loved him. Yeah.
So that's who I see, because we went into Ottawa a few years ago. AJ Jakovic picked us up, and we went to watch the 67s play, and Keller was up over, hanging up in that top area there at the back of the end of the rink, right? And we hung out, and I'm like, we're not getting this guy. But Konechny's a hell of a player. That's like, I was like, this guy is a player. Like, I
couldn't believe that he dropped as far as he did in the draft.
Right, and that's who I see with Reshny.
Yeah,
I see it like, because he's got some competitiveness in him. He's probably got a little bit more skill than Konechny, but Calgary's got a good for. Calgary's gonna be an interesting team to watch here, Grant, because they can't score. They got 12 goals in 8 games. Their only win was in a game in which Stuart Skinner handed the puck away in a 3-2 game and then they went 8 rounds of the shootout. And the Oilers kept on trying to deke Dustin Wolf instead of just blowing the puck over his shoulder. He challenged him with shots because he's a smaller goalie. That's their only win. They beat Edmonton in the opening game of the year.
Yeah.
And they can't score. And I wonder if there comes a point here where they have to look at moving. Oh, they're going to move Anderson for sure. But do they move Kadri as well?
Kadri. Maybe Huberdeau. Like, I think they have to blow it up. You know.
Me too.
Yeah.
Hey, we've gone on. Have I rambled enough for you today?
Absolutely.
Any final questions you want to fire my way?
Well, no, Bob. I'm gonna have to talk Habs with my loyal listeners or viewers. And answer a few live chat questions before we wrap it up. So listen, I didn't, I hope to have you on for like 15, 20 minutes. And I could talk all day to you, Bob, like say, it sounds like we're the same vintage and we could talk hockey all day. I'd love to have you on again sometime.
Well, we can, as long as I get approved. I got to get this.
No,
we just got brand new computers. And what's happened here is I put, a blocker for some of the video stuff. So I got to get that figured. I'm actually going to walk. We're hitting the ice here for practice right away before we fly to Seattle later this afternoon. I'm going to go see our IT guys. I apologize. You know what, though? They can only handle one super handsome guy on the screen, the viewers. So they got you.
There you go.
But I appreciate you asking to have me on, and we'll do this again, okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks. See you later.
Okay, bye. Bob Stauffer, great guy. We'll definitely have to have him on again. Maybe he can even have me on his show sometime. I'll maybe hint at him. But yes, Habs fans, let's get back to the game here a bit. Let's have a quick look at the stats from last night. If we can get it up here. Okay, what's going on?
I thought our guys played a really good game. We were checking their top players.
Oh, let's listen, see what Gally had to say here.
And yeah, I mean, could we have handled our emotions better? Of course, we'll talk about.
I can't hear that.
Situations in the game.
Is that? Can you guys hear that?
Obviously, they got some.
Somebody respond. Can you hear what Gally's saying? Yes or no, folks?
Goes to show. Being an official is.
No, nobody's going to answer me here. Okay, well, I'll stop it.
And that's part of it. You have to control it.
All right. Sorry about that.
Howard out there with Mangiapane and McDavid. Mangiapane stumbled and fell. Now Mangiapane.
Here's the penalties. Okay. I didn't want to go over this with Bob, but let's have a look here. Like Matheson's like, really? Like, what was that? and then the goal. And Anderson, like, he didn't even shoot the puck down the ice. He just shot it over to the boards, and they called an unsportsmanlike conduct. And there's the Slav one where Slav couldn't believe it. Like, how can that be a penalty? It's almost like the guy purposely hit his head on the freaking dasher. That's like the Brazilian soccer players getting touched on the calf and then rolling over. It was like you had a European soccer ref last night, but it was frustrating. And there's a look on Marty's face, right? Like, what the hell was that? So, yeah, it's too bad that, I mean, if it had gone to overtime and they lose in overtime or they win in overtime, Habs fans are upset, but they're not over the top. But for for them to come back and win that game, and thanks a lot to the referees, it's a tough one. You can only hope that at the end of the season, if the Canadiens lose out on a playoff spot or an important, spot in the standings by a point or 2 points, we will look back to that game, and it'll be one that hurt. So I'm really hoping that it doesn't come back and bite the Canadiens at the end of the year, because they should not have lost that game. And the refereeing was atrocious. I don't have another word for it. Even media guys, Montreal media guys that don't normally complain too much about these types of things, they were not too impressed, and I can't say I blame them. But anyway, we'll have to get over it. They say that things tend to even out, so let's hope that the next game, right? The next game that the Canadiens get the breaks. One power play, so it's tough to judge how Demidov got on the first. I was wondering, and I figured, well, we'll find out during the second power play if it was just because Bolduc had been out not long before the power play started, whether that was why Demidov got in the first, or if they have permanently moved Demidov to the first power play unit. I don't know if anybody's read anything, if they've heard anything in that regard, if they've practiced that they've put Demidov on the first unit or not. Weigh in, somebody, if you've read or heard something. But we didn't get a second power play to find out if in fact that has been a permanent move for now, that Demidov is on the first power play unit now. But because he did go out with the first unit to start the power play and replace Bolduc, which was, it's kind of funny that it happened the day after Bolduc scored a really nice power play goal. So I did wonder if it had more to do with the fact that Bolduc might have been, wasn't as fresh as Demidov, and they figured, well, we'll throw Demidov out on the first unit for this power play. But we'll have to find out. Now let's get to a few comments here and see what folks have to say. Yeah, Mario. That's what I got thinking. It was just because they wanted the fresher guy out there, right? And I don't know if they've been practicing with Demidov on the first unit or not, but it would make sense to, after Bolduc scoring a goal on the power play, that they take him off of it, right? So it makes me think that it was more because of Bolduc being gassed than them making a permanent change of any type. Let's see what I haven't been looking at. And we'll have a look at a few things here. Jason Teal says Matheson call brutal, Slav call was brutal, Anderson call was brutal. Yeah. Well, all three of those, even the Carrier one to a certain degree, it was a very, very light cross check. Oh, Devin agrees with me there. Carrier call was brutal. Yeah, it seemed like if the Oilers went down, it was a call, right? And none of them were flagrant. None of them were. So that was even that Matheson one where his stick kind of, both Matheson ones you could, in a lot of instances, neither of them would have been calls either. So, yeah. Anyway, didn't put them away. Monty, obviously, I think they have to come back with Dovish next game, right? I don't think anybody would disagree with me there. 840 save percentage versus 950. When it's more than a goal difference, more than a point difference, it's obvious that right now the starting goalie needs to be Dovish until Monty can get things sorted out, if he gets things sorted out. Jake Moore, I don't care the Habs lost. I care about the integrity of the game. Yeah. Nah. Hey, I know we're all a little emotional about it today, but I'm not the, I don't like to think that there is any, any of that going on. Maybe I don't know for sure. I can't prove it one way or the other, but I'm not a big conspiracy theorist type, and I like to think that the game of hockey is pretty honest when it comes to that. There's just sometimes it's bad refereeing, and plain and simple. And the one that really pissed me off was the Anderson call, right? I mean, you can debate one way or the other on the other one's ticky-tack calls. Okay, you can argue for it or against it. Oiler guys went down, all right. But at that point in the game, when the Canadiens, they blew the lead in part because of the refs giving tic-tac calls. Anderson gets the puck. He doesn't even shoot. I don't think he shot it. Did he? If he shot it at a linesman or whatever, I don't know where the puck went to. So that part I don't know. But I'm assuming he wasn't looking at a referee. The puck came out and he frickin' shot it in anger, pissed off that that the Oilers come back, and in large part because of the stupid calls. Well, he didn't even say anything to the ref. From all accounts, he never said anything. How do you give him an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty at that point? That's thin skin, and you shouldn't be a referee in the NHL if you freaking make a unsportsmanlike. Look at read the room, read the arena. You don't do it. You bite your tongue, and okay, well, they have a right to be pissed off right now. You don't make it about yourself and my feelings are hurt, so I'm going to give them another penalty. And then Edmonton ends up winning the game like it was Bush League. It was Bush League refereeing. Sometimes it happens. It happens in other sports too. Sometimes the refs suck. And last night, the refs sucked. We'll have to get over it. Hopefully the next time the refs suck in a Habs game, it's against the other team. If it would have happened the other way, where that Nashville game with 11, if that would have happened against the Habs, you can argue that they're all justified. We Canadiens fans would have gone ballistic. So it's the passion of the game. Hopefully it evens out during the year. Yeah, it seems like the Canadiens get the short end of the stick on the calls more often than they don't, but you do have to take into account that, if you're looking at it from a Habs fan perspective, that you're going to be a little slanted in the Canadiens. Even if you don't realize it, you're going to be a little slanted towards the Canadian side of things. So anyway, we'll have to, I just hope it doesn't cost the Canadiens at the end of the year, because I don't think anybody can agree that it wasn't Bush League officiating last night. Monty, he's got no confidence at all right now. And every time, yeah, you can defend him and say, well, this goal was deflected, or that goal was deflected, or, you got to stop deflected shots from the point every now and then. Like, does every single one have to go through him? It's just, and in part two of the goals against, he was almost on, he almost had his head underneath the net, like inside the net. He's got to come out more. Right now, his confidence is zero, and he's got to come out, challenge the shooters, take away the angles, the shooting angles. And right now, that's not happening. There were people last night, like I made a comment on, it was posted a picture of him like almost being right inside the net, saying, what's wrong with this picture? And somebody coming to the, of course, it's got to be someone that has to blame it on Matheson. Matheson didn't make a great play on that, but Monty has to be out there. Like, if that was Carey Price, he comes out and he pushes friggin' Matheson. He pushes those guys out of the way. And there's no way the puck, he's not 3 feet back from the Podkolzin and letting the puck go over his shoulder. He's not sitting inside his net like, oh, I don't want to come out, I'm not playing well now. I have no confidence. That's how he's playing timidly right now, Monty. And you know what? I had a look at when Patrick Roy made his breakthrough at the NHL level. He had 14 games in the minors, right? He was 20 years old, and that's when he made the Canadiens, right? Carey Price, 20 years old, played 34 games in the AHL, became a regular NHL goalie that year. Jacob Fowler, 20 years old, 14 career AHL games, exact same as Patrick Roy. No, I'm not saying he's the next Patrick Roy. Don't take this as me saying that Jacob Fowler's the next Carey Price or Patrick Roy. Just the fact that he's the next one. He's been the one that they've anointed the next one. Like, Patrick Roy wasn't Patrick Roy till he got his shot in the NHL, and then we all saw what he did. Well, until we see Jacob Fowler in the NHL, we don't know, how good he's going to be. All we know is that he's the most highly touted goalie the Canadiens have had since Carey Price. Carey Price obviously reached his potential. And before that, Patrick Roy. Like, there have been 2 goalies in the last 30 years in the Canadiens organization that were highly touted, really highly touted, and they both came through. Well, Jacob Fowler is the next one, right? There's goaltending experts that know more than I do that swear that this kid is legit and that he's going to be great. Well, is it too soon? Like, if Monty continues to struggle like he is, like, we've seen a lot of starting goalies lose their jobs completely and are out of the league or in the American League or what have you the next season. You can't keep going with them if Monty keeps playing like this for the next month, he's not going to have a job. You can't, like, the Canadiens are playoff contenders. They can't wait forever for Monty to find his confidence. We've seen it. Listen, I've just like Bob, I've followed the league for 50 years. I saw Jim Carrey, no, not the comedian, come into the NHL, win Rookie of the Year, and within a couple of years, his NHL career was over. Like, the mental aspect of playing goaltending is so important. And right now, Samuel Montembeault has no confidence, and it's not a guarantee that he'll get it back at the NHL level. His days of being a starter in the NHL might be over. It's possible. And Jakub Dobeš, he looks like a starter right now. So he's got to go. They got to, for now, until the Monty gets it sorted out, Jakub Dobeš has to be the guy that plays the number of games that Monty played in the past. He's got to be the number one for now. And I think last night was, you can only, it's only 5 games, but it's still 5 games. And Monty is not the starting goalie right now for the foreseeable future in the Canadiens. And if he can't get it straightened out, even Kapanen could get called back up. But if Fowler's lights out, keeps playing, got a shutout his last game, if he keeps playing like that in the AHL, don't be surprised if at some point this season the starting goalies in Montreal are Fowler and Dobeš. It's happened dozens of times in the past with teams. The guy that one year is a starting goalie, the next year it's 2 other guys that are the goalies. It happens all the time, Charlie Lindgren 3 years ago, like what you said, he was going to be one of the 2 goalies in Washington. The changeover, it can be quick. Ottawa's goaltending, how much has it been turned upside down over the last few years? Matt Murray was a starter, within 2 years he's out of the league, right? There's a carousel for a lot of teams in the NHL. You can't wait forever for a goalie to get his confidence back, because that doesn't always happen. Obviously I want Monty, great guy, want him to succeed, want him to get his game straightened out, but there's no guarantees. It's a business. If he continues to struggle like he has been, Fowler or Kapanen could be one of the 2 goalies along with Dobeš for the rest of the year. This is a team that's in playoff, that's a contender, and they have to go with the goalies that are playing the best. It's the way it is. But as far as Monty's chances of being on the Olympic team now, boy, you'd have to say that the odds are pretty low at this point that he'll be considered to go to the Olympics. So, anyone that's still been using that as well, I think most people are past that now, that you just got to hope that he can, play in the NHL, play some more games and be even a backup at this point in the NHL, let alone be worrying about whether his, if you aren't using him as a starter, whether that hurts his chances to go to the Olympics. I think that ship has sailed. So let's see if we can get to a few more questions here. Well, there's that, and I Little Potato saying, for me, it's simple. 100% the losses on Monte. The refs have been losers for decades. Well, if I couldn't help but think last night that if Dobeš had been in nets instead of Monty, we wouldn't even be talking about the refereeing today. The Canadiens would have won, and because they thoroughly outplayed the Oilers. It was, that part of it was encouraging. That second line again, man, they're getting better by the game. And it's funny, Bob bringing up Doc and not, Oliver Kapanen's the biggest secret in the NHL right now. People don't know just how good this kid is. And last night, my goodness, I keep a close eye on him because I I'm really interested in seeing how he develops and how he looks. And he gets to so many pucks. He gets a stick on the puck. He anticipates the play so well. He creates so many opportunities for that line with his smarts and his anticipation, and his skating has improved so much. 2 beautiful assists he got last night. I think, I was surprised that he didn't get an assist in his first 8 games, but now that he has, and he's got a couple there, like he hasn't set up Demidov yet for a goal. Wait till that starts to. They're still not quite. They haven't quite figured things out yet. Those two, as line mates, but they're both so smart and both so really good players. Wait until that happens. I can see. I put up those stats: 55. 55. This is what they're projected right now. Demidov 55, Kapanen 55, Newhook 63. Hey, they're only improving. They're all young. Kapanen and Demidov haven't really figured out. They're forechecking like fiends, and they're getting, they keep the puck in the offensive zone a lot, but they haven't really figured out where each other is on the ice and their tendencies yet. And I think they will. I wouldn't be surprised if those point totals only increase, and Demidov and Kapanen each hit 60 this year. I've altered, I've been a little conservative with Kapanen, thinking, okay, the starts, obviously his shooting percentage in 40% mark wasn't going to keep. That's going to come down. He's not going to be a 40-goal scorer this year, but I really do like his playmaking, and I think you'll see that assist total continue to go up. And it would not shock me if Kapanen and Demidov each hit the 60-point mark this year. And I'm telling you, it's been since 82, 83. So I leave this line alone. I think there's no reason to break those guys up, no reason to put Bolduc on. They're clicking, and I think it is only going to improve as the year goes along. And hey, 3 guys that, a 22-year-old, a 19-year-old, and a 24-year-old as your second line, that could have the most points by a Habs second line since the 80s. That's 40 years. Leave it alone and let them grow, and you hope that the dock line can get sorted out. Kapanen and Demidov second points for rookies. Dobish easily first for goalies. They might, we might have 3 players in the top 5 in Calder voting at the end of the year. That's never happened. Not since expansion in '67, anyways. The 3 players from the same team finished top 5 in Calder voting. It's a possibility. Tell me that's not something to look forward to. It's only bodes well for the future. Let's see if we get a few more questions here, and see if you got it, or remarks anyways. Ronan, Bolduc got power play. Slav is useless at goal line because they aren't playing with him in front of the net where he's useful. Yeah, I don't think useless at goal line is. He scored 2 goals at the goal line so far this year. So, yeah, he's still figuring out. He grips his stick a little tightly sometimes. He's still figuring out some things in that regard. So, it's useless is a strong term. I don't know that, but yeah, I'd like him to be a little better. And what's this? Fowler allowed 6 goals against Bell the Center. Yeah, well, one game, my friend. One game. It happens. I'm not saying that you call up Fowler for sure, but if he over the course of the next month or so, if he's really strong and Monty isn't, like Fowler may have allowed 6 goals, but who allowed 6 goals last night, right? It's just one game. Wait till Kapanen and Demidov have 200 games under the belt. Hallelujah. I like that. Mr. Rasik, I'm sorry, I'm not real good at pronouncing names that I've seen for the first time. Aliyah. I feel that last night the first line and Gallagher's third were mostly used. The fourth line was very quiet with Doc. I think MSL adjusted very well to the game. Yeah, he actually gave the Kapanen line some more important minutes than usual. Let's have a look at the stats here. Doc played 10-28, Veleno 9-31. So yeah, the third line wasn't as used as much. Let's get that out of the way here. Kapanen, Demidov, 12, 13 minutes. They're not getting huge minutes yet, but slowly but surely they're getting more important minutes. And they all three of those guys. Newhook typically is 13-32, so he's like 6 or 7 in ice time as a rule. Coach is getting really starting to get more confidence in Newhook, and hey, he's on a 63-point pace, killing penalties. I like Newhook's development this year. I think we're seeing a breakthrough from him, and I did say that at the start of the year as a kind of a dark horse. He's kind of a key to this team's success this year. If he make another step, and I think he has, then he can help. He's an important piece in this Canadiens club becoming a contender, I believe. Struble had 14-48 and Arbor 8-49. So at this point, they are Marty and Stefan are trusting Struble a little more. Obviously, Carrier, say he was on the third pairing, but 22-03, right? He's still getting good. He's getting his ice time has moved up into the 20s with Gouli out. Carrier becomes, maybe he's on the third pairing at times, but he's playing. They double shift him, and they're making sure that he's getting top 4 ice time out there. As far as draws go, Kapanen 60% was top on the team. Again, I think Kapanen is going to become a good. It takes time, but he's going to be a solid face-off man. I do believe. Evans was 45%. Suzuki, he's had a couple of these games, only 22% in the face-off circle, and that's got to improve. I hope he can improve his face-off percentage. It's been a little low this year. Struble led the team in hits with 3. Giveaways, Evans had 3. Struble had 3. Gallier had 3. Takeaways, there weren't that many takeaways. Blocked shots, had a bunch of guys with 3. Slav, 3. Carrier, 3. Noah Dobson, 3. Missed shots. Slav missed 4. Really hope he can start getting his shot. He's got to get his sights straightened out a bit there. But yeah, so that's a look at the stats from last night. We'll take a couple more questions and I'll wrap it up. Yeah, well, when they're not getting the power plays and they're killing penalties, that's right. Demidov's ice time's down a bit. What? Tommy Myers. Hey, thanks, Tommy. And I appreciate some people asking questions. Don't be shy to ask questions. Do you see Beck being part of the Habs' future? Well, with the emergence of Kapanen, I mean, I have liked Kapanen more than Beck the last couple of years, anyways. I've ranked him higher on my prospect depth chart, so this doesn't shock me that Kapanen made the team before Beck. Don't forget he's a year older, and he's played through. This is his 4th year playing pro hockey, so kind of almost expected that he would make the team before. This is an important year for Beck. He's got to make another step offensively, I think, at the AHL level, continue to grow his game, come back next year stronger, faster, more confident, and hope that next year will be his year that he has to crack the lineup, or he might end up playing somewhere else. Jack Eye obviously brings in a dimension that maybe Owen doesn't when it comes to just how he can kind of play an enforcer role to a certain degree. Even if he's not a great fighter, he'll drop the gloves with anybody and protect teammates. And Beck's not a scrapper per se, so he might have an edge in finding a spot on the 4th line down the road. But Beck, this is an important year, and I don't know. I can't really answer that. I don't like to predict these things because you don't know. But I think he's an NHL player. Whether it's in Montreal or not remains to be seen. But if he ends up in another organization, and one that maybe doesn't have the depth, the youthful depth that the Canadiens have, he can play. I still think he can play a middle line, likely a 3rd or 4th line role at the NHL level, and probably at center. Yeah. Doc and Veleno struggled last night. Doc, I did not like his defensive coverage on that one goal where he didn't cover a guy at the side of the net, and then the guy went behind the net and passed it to another guy who he didn't cover either. But Doc was out a few games. I'll give him a game or two to get back up to speed. I'm not going to be too harsh on him in one game, and let's hope that he gets things straightened out here. Tommy Myers. Newhook has just over 300 games. He seems a lot more confident on the ice. He has speed that bears a defenseman, and he's coming into his own. Yeah, he looks like a legitimate middle line guy that can help you win now. He's utilizing that speed better. I always kind of compared him a bit to Russ Courtnall, and I know a lot of you aren't old enough to even remember Russ Courtnall, but I see a lot of similarities there. Russ Courtnall wasn't a visionary out there, but he used that speed very effectively to become a very important part of the Canadiens team back in the 80s, 90s. Let's see what else here. Okay, Ronan, thanks for coming out. I appreciate you. Weighing in. Sorry. Russ Courtnall, Notre Dame Hound. You got her. Pierre. Hey, Pierre. Grant, do you think the refs will punish the Habs for calling out the refs yesterday? No, I don't think so. I think the other refs will know that their brethren weren't very good. I think that's what they'll. No, I don't. again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist type, and I don't believe that refs operate that way all the time. Sometimes maybe, but I don't see it. You know, you can't. You want to keep your job, right? You got to at least look like there's some integrity there, and it's not a good idea to turn around. Richard, Slav is making a lot of good plays, just no points, no luck. Or am I blind? No, I agree with that. I've been saying it since the start of the year. He's set up his line mates and defensemen for a lot of chances, and that'll turn around. He'll go through a stretch here now, hopefully starting next game where he'll get a bunch of assists and they'll pile up because he's protecting the puck well. He's poised. He's not turning it over that often. He's getting better and better with the puck. He's still good. He's always going to be good along the boards and be physical. And yeah, I've liked Slav's game. I'm not too worried about him at this point. The points will come, I do believe. Caulfield with 2 more last night. Tied for the league lead in goals, which is pretty cool. I think, as I said, at the start of the year, I think he can flirt with 50 and be in the running for the Rocket Richard Trophy, which is pretty mint, as KK would say. Well, we already had that comment before. Okay. Kapanen played great, possibly his best game. Yeah, that's possible. Although I think he's had some strong ones. Pierre Gingerov, we don't need another Primo disaster, that is for sure. Yeah. What do you do if Monty does not find his game? Okay. Well, I think I answered that. I'm assuming this came before I started talking about Monty. I think you either call up Kakkonen or and you send him to the minors for a while. Hope that he can find his game. You can't wait forever. If the Canadiens were bottom feeders, then maybe you cater to Montembeault for as long as you can, but they've got a playoff spot to win, and they can't be patient forever. I only blame Matheson on last goal. I thought defenseman play in front of the forward defending, not stand behind the forward. Yeah, he gets a bit of blame for that, but not the first time a defenseman's been between the goalie, and typically you are between player and your goalie, the puck and the goalie. No, you're not typically in front of the defenseman or it's in front of the forward, right in front of the net. The biggest thing to me was that Monty needed to come out of his crease, and if it meant pushing Matheson, so be it. I pictured Carey Price doing it about 1 million times, where when an opposing player and his defenseman were right in front of him in his grill, he freaking no, this is my office. He didn't sit back in his net and hope that the puck didn't come through. He dealt with it, and Monty didn't. He was timid. I blame that one on Monty more than I do Matheson. But I'm not saying Matheson played it perfectly. He didn't tie up his stick. He gave him a shove. It was a little late, but if Monty's in the right spot, that doesn't go over his shoulder. He's got the net covered. He didn't. He was sitting in it back in his net. A weak little backhander over the top of his shoulder because he wasn't out of his crease cutting off the angle. The Habs were boom, exciting, but Monty was brutal. Yeah. That's yes, Captain Obvious. I think it's all in Monty's head. typical goalies, maybe he needs a sports psychologist like Price and others had to do. Well, hopefully he's got one. Canadians got the guy, the psychologist that's always asking, what's your favorite animal? Well, maybe they gotta get him in a room with Monty and get him straightened out. All right, we've gone 90 minutes here. Pierre, which is why I asked the question: if Monty does not find his game as primo, then what do we do? Cannot put him on waivers. Do you carry 3 goalies? Why can't you put him on waivers? Can he not get sent down to the minors? Maybe a team picks him up. Well, that's not the end of the world if he keeps struggling. But no, he can be sent. Unless there's something I'm missing here, he can be sent to the minors, and if he keeps struggling like he is, no one's going to pick him up on waivers. So you can he will not pass the waivers. Well, why would he not pass the waivers? NHL teams have scouts and they watch video. Yeah, he could pass the waivers, and if he didn't, so what? If a month from now Monty hasn't gotten any better, Montreal's got lots of other options. So it's not the end of the world if Monty is out of the organization. We'll know better in a month. If Dobish is still playing like he has been, then he's the number 1. They bring up Kapanen or Fowler as the number 2. Send Monty to the minors. If another team picks him up, well, another team picks him up. It's not the end of the world if 2.5 months into the season you lose a goalie who just has no confidence left in his game. Don't forget, someone picks him up on waivers, they got to keep him too, right? So they got to have that spot. But that is harsh, Grant. Of course, in a month with 942 might be a different story. Well, I'm talking in a month, yeah, for sure. Not the first goalie to get sent to the minors that was a starter, and it happens. There's a goalie in a team every year, at least one, and we're not talking about the San Jose Sharks here, where you can, let's get him straightened around. Canadiens have to win. They're a playoff team. They're a playoff contender. They're not going to wait forever on Montembeault. If he's not playing better in a month, he's not going to be one of the 2 goalies. It's just, it's harsh, but it's reality. It's a business. And, Jeff Molson wants that playoff revenue. He's more interested in the playoff revenue than, whether Samuel Montembeault's feelings get hurt. It's just, it's business. Bronco Booger, great insight as always. Thank you, Bronco. Can you envision the Montreal staff allowing Dobish to take the number 1 Tendy spot? Yeah. Would Monty accept the backup if need be? Well, he might accept the trip to the minors if need be. He has no choice but to accept. You think Samuel Montembeault's nose is going to be out of joint if he's not playing 70% of the games? He knows he's playing like crap. He said it the last game. He wants his team to win. Monty's a good guy. He's not selfish. He was picked up on waivers by the Canadiens. He was a backup goalie, before he ever joined the Montreal Canadiens. He knows what it, there's humility there and reality. He knows it's a business, and he knows that he's not helping his team win right now. So he has no choice but to be okay with it. If he pouts about it, well, that even more reason to, well, sorry, Monty, it's been fun, but see you later. Good luck. It's just, again, it may sound like I'm being harsh, but it's just reality of the situation. Tommy Myers, Slav is getting stronger. Wait till he turns 25. Yeah, it's going to be an issue for every team in the league. It reminds me, Keith. Yeah, there are some there are some similarities there for sure, Tommy. That's a good point. Cash fan, hey, nice to see a new name in here. There was something seriously wrong with the way the game was called last night. It's embarrassing, really. Yeah, well, we've beat that horse to death, but Little Potato, geez, you always stir the pot, eh, Little Potato? You're acting like a big potato. Hey, Grant, in hindsight, would you do the Dobson-Heineman deal? Because Heineman had a 2-goal game and he's got 5 in his first? Come on. Really? Did I miss something, or is Heineman playing first pairing 25-minute defense role? Did they convert him into a defenseman? Did he grow to 6'4" and he's playing 25 minutes a game on defense? Or is he still a winger that just happens to have 5 goals so far this year? All right, Little Potato, love you, buddy. I'm just, come on now. Yeah, you don't judge a trade on 5 goals in 8 games or whatever it is for Heineman. He started off last year with 2 goals in his first 3. We thought, oh, future star, Just wait till he walks downtown in New York there and, out for a month after he gets hit by a car. No, that's not going to happen. I love Emil. He's a solid. His upside could be second line winger. Maybe if everything goes well with Heineman, his ultimate upside is first line winger, which is great. But the Canadiens got a first pairing right defenseman. Emil Heineman will never play 25 minutes in a hockey game, ever. No matter how good he might become. If he's a 40-goal scorer, he's still not going to play 25 minutes a game on the power play, on the PK, on, shutting down other teams. So, yeah, not regretting that deal whatsoever. Dobson has made Matheson a better player. Dobson he's going to help the Canadiens contend for a Stanley Cup. And, the 1-2 punch on the right side down the road of Reinbacher and Dobson. Love the vision of the Canadiens. Love that they got him. Love that Montreal was one of the few teams that Dobson really wanted to go to. I think, no, I don't regret that trade at all, and I don't think you should either. And don't, we can't overreact to a guy getting a couple goals or getting 5 in his first. I wish Heineman all the best. I think he can be a 30-goal scorer in the league, but a 30-goal winger versus first pairing right defenseman, I still like. Dobson had 70 points in the league. He'll generate offense. He'll play on the power play. He's on the first PK a lot of the times, and he's been better defensively than I expected. I think his defensive game has been overblown. Overly harsh. He's only hitting his peak as an NHL defenseman. Like 25 to 35 is the peak for an NHL defenseman. Lindstrom didn't win Liam McGuire brings it up whenever we talk. He didn't win a Norris Trophy till he was 30 years old, and then won like 7 in his 30s. So no regrets, and Kent Hughes definitely has no regrets on that deal. Newhook playing the best hockey of his life. Why demote him? He's on pace for 63 points. Do you know the last time the Canadiens had a second line player that had 63 points? No, you don't. Don't break what isn't. Don't fix what isn't broken, folks. Again, second line projection, 63, 55, 55. You have to go back to 1982, 83. The Canadiens had 3 guys on the second line with at least 55 points. Why would you tinker with that? No. They've been outstanding, and they're all young and they're only improving. They're getting better every game. What if they all get 60 plus? Become the first line before the end of the year? No, absolutely not. You keep things the way they are right now with Newhook. He's finding his confidence. Why would you try to curtail that? It's normal that Heineman is getting points and goals. They were playing him on a first line there. Yeah, well, good for him. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's a good player, good guy, good player. Wish him all the best. I hope it works out well for both teams. I hope that the picks they made end up being good players. I like the picks. They might, they may end up being good, being happy with the deal, and that's fine. Dobson wanted out. Montreal wanted him. Best of both worlds. Tommy Myers, the Dobson acquisition has set up the Habs decor perfectly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think everybody realizes that. Oh, well, hey. Okay, guys. Oh, who's here's somebody else weighing in. Alex, our legend. Struble and Line for Stamkos. Wow. That's an interesting. That one never crossed my mind. I like Steven Stamkos. That would give, the trade would have to make sense for Nashville. Liney's an expiring contract. So you trade the one salary for the other. And then they get Struble, and they could use another good young defenseman. That's not an outrageous trade proposal. Stamkos would, there's a lot of talent on the Canadiens, and he might rediscover his scoring touch playing with a lot more skilled team. Montreal, good leader. I'm a Stamkos fan, and even though he has been struggling the last year and a half in Nashville, sometimes, Luc Robitaille was great in LA, got traded to the Rangers, never could, just didn't fit in, and went back to LA and was great again. So sometimes it just, it doesn't work out with certain teams. That's an interesting trade idea. I think that hey, sure, you can get rid of Liney's contract. Friedman just released. They might talk about it. Okay, what did Friedman just release? 82 Habs had 9 goals with 20 more goals and had 10 guys. That's right. They're the last Habs team that had a second line. In fact, they had 7 or 8 guys with 60 plus points, I think it was. But certainly 7 or 8 guys with 55 or more. But that's the last one. I'm not saying they only had, they only had 6 or whatever. No, they were very good offensively, but you know what? They didn't win anything. It just goes to show you need a good defensive team, right? You can have all the fire wagon hockey that you can be top of the league in goals, but you still have to be able to keep the puck out of your net. That's why Kapanen's playing with Demidov. Yeah, exactly. You got to pay through the nose. Well, oh, look at this, eh? See, I kept it going long enough. I got another $2. Folks, if you want to throw in a toonie, if you want to donate a toonie, I'll keep going. Thank you, Sheldon, again, my benefactor. I don't know how Paul was asking how you how do you donate? I'm not really sure how it's done, but I guess people can. At the very least, if you don't mind, subscribe and like this episode, maybe hype it. Those are all things that help, that are very beneficial to me. So, yeah, everybody's going to leave now because I'm pushing them to send me some money. No, just kidding, Pierre. Okay, guys, I haven't eaten anything yet today. It's now almost 2:00. I was prepping for my interview with Bob Stauffer. Wanted to see his facial reaction to a few things. Unfortunately, didn't get to see that, but thank you for hanging in there, folks. And there's a dollar sign beside the chat. Okay. So see that's dollar sign, guys. In the future, if you can donate $1 or $2, every bit helps. I appreciate it, Sheldon. I appreciate everybody coming out again. 693. That's a good. That's pretty good for middle of the afternoon. And there's LPB. I didn't know he was here. Cash Fan 78. Great show, Grant. Thanks, guys. We're gonna try to get out on some other. Very nice of Bob Stauffer to drop by. We'll try to get him on again. I'm going to see if I can get a few more, color commentators and such on the show in the future. And hopefully we can even see their face. Okay, that's it. Yeah, not going to have a show tonight, obviously. We'll do one after the game tomorrow night. I don't know about a pre-game, but I'll get on after the game. And I don't know if I'll have the Snake Show live or not. Not sure about that one. We'll see. Might want to edit it a couple of times. Okay, folks. Thanks again. Have a good one.